This video is brought to you by Squarespace. It's an online website platform I'm currently using to build my illustration portfolio. More on that later. Today we're going to do something exciting, a very different take on a traditional botanical watercolor, because sometimes you just need to get really close to your favorite subjects and it completely changes the entire experience, allowing you to test new techniques and see colors from a different angle. If you haven't painted an extreme close-up like this, I highly recommend it because I think you will find that this perspective can actually be very forgiving and even easier to paint in many respects, allowing you to practice light and shadow transitions without worrying about the overall form. We're going to paint this tulip flower step by step. I will explain my color choices and specific techniques I use, give you lots of watercolor tips, and if you want to see the full process in real time and get black and white outlines, you can find them on my Patreon this week. First, we need to take care of this area inside the flower where the stamens are going to be. It's mostly in the shadow, so we have to give it a soft tone. I'm going to use very diluted ochre plus maybe some Hansa yellow, applying it wet into wet. And then we can start working on the red petals. I'm going to close this segment up by applying just a tiny bit of color around, letting it spread gently into the yellow center. It's almost reaching the ochre, but not quite, so we have a nice soft blend. Then I can start working on individual petals, and the best part is we can focus on one petal at a time. There's almost no room for error. It's quite a relaxing process overall. And I'm just testing different shades of red to see which one I like best and which one I would recommend when I do a real-time demo for my Patreon subscribers. The warmer, almost orangey shades you see are quinacridone coral. It's one of my all-time favorites, but it's maybe a bit too warm for this flower. The cool pink you see is called quinacridone red. It's fantastic, but not vibrant enough, I feel. Also, I've been using it so much over the years that I'm getting a bit bored, so I'm going to test something new, something you haven't seen me use a lot on this channel. This is called carmine. These are the most vibrant splashes you see. I'm also going to test some cooler, more bluish reds like magenta and bordeaux, and I will add perylene violet for the darkest shadows later on. None of these are really necessary, I'm just playing around. I think a combination of carmine and violet would be more than enough to create a good dimension all around the petals. A couple of tips to keep in mind when it comes to your technique and how to apply the colors here. So when you start working on a new petal, you want to pre-wet the edges of the petal with clear water and apply your red pigments closer to the base so they can flow freely towards the edge, leaving the tip of the petal almost white. Then you can use a smaller brush, load it up with more red, and apply very thin, quick strokes using wet on damp technique, meaning while your paper is still a little bit wet, and it will create these soft natural veins on the petals. You can also charge more vibrant color closer to the base in the shadow areas. On some segments where petal veins are very visible, very defined, you can apply wet on dry method like I'm doing here without pre-wetting the petal. But on this flower, it's quite a rare case as far as I can tell. And if the edges of the petal look pure white, which is quite common, especially in the center of this tulip, then you can do the following. Apply some color in the colored shadow area and then blend with clear water towards the edge. Don't put too much water on your brush, just enough to let the color spread. This way you will have more control and you can keep the edge completely dry so there's no paint spreading there, and use the white of your paper as your brightest white without using any white paint as traditional watercolor is meant to be. The second tip I'm going to give you is that you need to use very diluted paints in this first layer to allow yourself some room to add texture and shadows later on. This is important for any watercolor work, but when it comes to working with red pigments, it becomes critical. And the reason why, you may not realize this about red, so I will show you. The thing with red pigments is that at full saturation, when you apply very thick strokes, very concentrated thick strokes, the eyes will perceive them as the darkest value. What I mean by that is your red will read almost as a shadow color, closer to black. It's only obvious if you switch to a black and white view, and you can see that the most saturated areas of red now appear very, very dark. And that's what makes working with red colors so tricky, especially in watercolor. We might be tempted to paint with very rich, undiluted reds right away, but you have to start very light and add more concentrated color later to avoid going too dark too soon. I will be adding more concentrated reds in the second layer in just a minute, but first I need to show you how to paint the stamens in the center of the flower and talk about the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I've been using Squarespace to build my portfolio website. Really delighted with how smooth this whole process has been, primarily because their guided design system, they call it the Squarespace Blueprint, is really easy to use. You can choose from a variety of beautiful professional layouts. The feature that I'm really excited about is their online store, and if you're running an art business like I do, this is absolutely essential. Beyond just selling your artwork, you can offer online courses or even memberships. For example, I'm often asked to provide watercolor classes and one-on-one portfolio reviews. And with these tools, I can finally start planning my content the way I always wanted to. Make sure to check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/ANNABUCCIARELLI. This way you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Now back to our flower, and I will show you the stamens that to me were the trickiest part. First of all, I used my Perylene Violet and some dioxazine purple to paint the darkest areas, but it didn't really feel like it was dark enough. Remember I told you how saturated reds look very dark? Well, they make all the other pigments next to them look a little bit lighter in comparison, even if they typically appear almost black like my violet and purple. So I quickly realized I would need more than one layer of color on the stamens. I left them to dry, switching to the darker areas on the petals. I'm applying very tiny strokes using just the tip of my brush. This is Escoda Chronos, 90% synthetic. And I'm trying to mimic the natural direction of the petal veins. Sometimes, as you can see, I have to rotate my paper. By the way, this is 140-pound arches block, slightly textured, and the cold pressed finish allows me just enough drying time to charge more saturated color when I feel like making things a little bit more vibrant. In the darkest areas between the petals, I apply a bit of Perylene Violet, then blend with a clean damp brush so my shadows disappear softly into the first wash of color. My advice here is not to use a very large brush because you may introduce too much water and even risk lifting the previous wash of red color. So you want your brush to be on the smaller side and just slightly damp, so you can blend the darker colors without dissolving the lighter pigments underneath. You can also load your brush with a little bit of saturated red and extend your shadows that way, and then dissolve them with clear water. I'm using a combination of coral and carmine for particularly large petals, extending the darker shadows with a more vibrant red, and sometimes adding a few veins, just using wet on damp technique. When these shadows were done, I came back and applied a little bit of burnt sienna just to outline some of the lighter yellow elements in the center and add some definition there. And then I worked on the second layer of color on the petals. Now we can add very concentrated reds at this stage, but only at the base. Notice that I'm still blending my colors with clear water towards the edges and most of the segments. Because I am applying the second coat of color, I can now achieve full saturation in some areas if I really want to. building really wonderful, vibrant segments, still working petal by petal, so there's no color bleeding and very little opportunity for making any mistakes at this point. And let me tell you that this whole process made me rediscover my love for carmine. It's a really beautiful, rich pigment. Mine is from Daniel Smith, and it works perfectly for this tulip. You can imagine it's also amazing if you like to paint roses or peony flowers. Note that it also mixes very well with yellows and blues. So for example, if you're into mixing primaries, this would be an excellent option to add to your palette. Think about painting portraits, for example. You would need a really nice red for rosy cheeks and lips. We just recently did a portrait together on this channel, and this pigment would work really well for mixing skin tones. And now I can finally come back and add those finishing touches on the stamens using very small synthetic brush. Mine is from Escoda. I will apply my darkest darks, my Perylene Violet mixed with Dioxazine Purple. Never black, just like I almost never use white. This is more than enough to achieve very good contrast. I also feel like capturing a few speckles, some of that pollen in the center, and adding a couple of extra shadows, just a few glazes of red and violet to accentuate the highlights. I feel like the flower is almost done at this stage, and if you want to learn more about working with reds, I have a red rose video here on my channel. Actually, most of the flowers you can think of, you can probably find here as well, and I will leave a botanical watercolor playlist in the description below, along with the link to some of the pigments I used. Thank you for watching and painting with me. I will see you soon.